In the darkness between the stars, silence is the only constant. For billions of years, that silence went unbroken. Until now. Astronomers first noticed the faint signature late one evening in July 2025. A small team in Hawaii, part of NASA's automated survey network, picked up an unfamiliar glimmer moving against the background of known stars. At first glance, it looked like a routine comet, another frozen fragment drifting through the void. But within hours, the data told a different story. Its speed was wrong, its path was wrong, even its light was wrong. The object was racing through space at nearly 200,000 kilometers per hour, far faster than anything held by the sun's gravity. It wasn't coming from the outer solar system, it was entering from interstellar space. The third, confirmed visitor from beyond, the one that would soon be known as 3I Atlas. Most comets follow gentle, predictable arcs. 3I Atlas refused. It sliced through the solar plane like a blade, its orbit aligned so precisely with the paths of Earth and Mars that statisticians called the odds of such alignment astronomically impossible. Telescopes around the world turned to watch. Within days, the object grew brighter, not because sunlight hit it more strongly, but because something within it seemed to awaken. The brightness pulsed, slowly, rhythmically, as though the object were breathing. No one wanted to say the word, but everyone thought it artificial. At Harvard, Avi Loeb's team began running the numbers. The mass-to-light ratio was absurdly low. The spin rate was irregular, the trajectory self-correcting. Loeb compared it to a solar sail, a vast ultralight sheet pushed by sunlight. But even that theory couldn't explain the pulses. Nothing natural blinks with mathematical precision. NASA's Jet Propulsion Laboratory kept silent for weeks, releasing only carefully worded updates. Unusual photometric behavior, further observation required. Behind closed doors, they were baffled. The object appeared to be massive, tens of billions of tons, yet its gravitational signature was almost zero. According to every textbook ever written, that should be impossible. Somewhere between Mars and Earth, physics itself seemed to hesitate. The public learned of 3I Atlas through leaked data on an amateur astronomy forum. Within hours, the story spread across the world. News outlets scrambled for statements. NASA finally confirmed the discovery but offered no explanation. And when institutions that normally speak with confidence go quiet, imagination takes over. Was it a comet made of exotic materials, a fragment of an ancient star, or something far older, a messenger drifting between civilizations? The strangest revelation came next. As 3 Atlas rotated, instruments detected not random flickers, but structured sequences, light variations repeating every 23 minutes and 17 seconds, then resetting. The pattern remained stable for days, as if the object were transmitting on a schedule. Spectrographs showed no radio emissions, only light, pure, coherent, almost laser-like in its focus. Some scientists called it coincidence, an illusion created by rotation. Others quietly disagreed. They had seen this before, in 2017, with the enigmatic Oumuamua. Once again, the universe was playing the same note, daring us to recognize the melody. And then, on the night of October 3rd, the impossible happened. As 3I Atlas swept past Mars, every gravitational monitor in NASA's network recorded nothing, no measurable tug, no micro-distortion in orbit. A city-sized mass had just passed within astronomical shouting distance, and the universe hadn't noticed. For the scientists watching the data stream, it felt like staring at a ghost, visible to the eye, absent to the laws of force. That was the moment the tone changed from curiosity to awe. Something was moving through our solar system that didn't belong to the known categories of matter. Either nature had crafted an object lighter than foam, yet brighter than steel, or someone, somewhere, had built a vessel meant to hide in plain sight. And if that's true, then 3i Atlas isn't just passing by, it's performing. The days that followed were chaos wrapped in calculation. Every observatory with a working lens aimed at the coordinates. From Chile's dry mountain air to the frozen domes of Antarctica, humanity turned its collective vision toward a single point of light. Each instrument told the same unsettling story. 3i Atlas behaved as though it understood it was being watched. When telescopes focused on it, the pulse pattern changed, slower, fainter, as if dimming its own heartbeat. When observation paused, the brightness returned. Data scientists ruled out equipment interference. The synchronization was real. The object's luminosity seemed to respond to human attention. The public called it the cosmic mirror. For researchers, it was a problem that felt alive. NASA convened an emergency panel, pulling in physicists, linguists, and engineers. What could produce a signal made entirely of reflected light? One possibility emerged: micro-layered materials capable of shifting orientation at the molecular level, turning entire regions into living mirrors. That would mean 3i Atlas wasn't rock, it was architecture. At the European Space Agency, simulations ran day and night. If the object were hollow, its shell would have to be only meters thick, yet strong enough to survive eons in interstellar space. Some speculated a composite of carbon lattices and magnetic scaffolding, technology far beyond current human fabrication. Meanwhile, radio astronomers scanned every frequency from 1 Hertz to gamma ray. Nothing. No communication, no carrier wave, no whisper. Only silence wrapped in rhythm. That silence spoke louder than words. If this was a message, perhaps we weren't meant to decode it with antennas. Perhaps it was meant for the eye, for consciousness itself. The deeper physicists dug, the more reality seemed to bend. The object's trajectory intersected perfectly with the orbital plane of 3 planets: Venus, Mars, and Jupiter. The mathematical probability of that alignment occurring by chance was less than 1 in 500 million. Even the skeptics fell quiet. Somewhere in those numbers, intention was hiding. By late October, the James Webb Space Telescope gathered its first high-resolution spectra. The results shattered expectation again. Instead of ordinary cometary gases, water vapor, carbon monoxide, dust, 3i Atlas emitted narrow bands consistent with engineered alloys, nickel without iron, pure carbon dioxide with traces of unknown crystalline elements. It was a chemistry that didn't exist anywhere in our solar system. One analyst compared it to industrial purification, the kind of selective refinement used in laboratories, not in nature. As the data poured in, humanity split into camps. One side clung to science. There must be an explanation we haven't found yet. The other whispered the unthinkable. We are not the first to build machines that sail among the stars. Even inside NASA, the debate grew philosophical. If an artifact crosses the boundary between physics and meaning, does it remain an object, or does it become a message? And if it is a message, who is it for? Through all of this, 3i Atlas continued its silent ballet. No thrust, no noise, just light pulsing through the void like the breath of something ancient. Astronomers noticed one more anomaly: its rotation period shortened by exactly 0.3% every 48 hours, as though some internal mechanism were gently adjusting course. The direction of those corrections pointed not toward the sun, but toward Earth. For the first time in history, an interstellar object appeared to be steering toward us. Governments requested data classification. A few frames from the Webb telescope were redacted before release. Officials claimed calibration issues. But leaks told another story. Faint geometric shadows along the object's edge, shapes too regular to be natural fractures. Triangles nested within circles, repeating ratios, sacred geometry written across the stars. It was as if someone had hidden a signature in plain sight, a design meant to be recognized by any species that understood mathematics. Around the world, people watched live streams of pixelated dots, waiting for the next update. For the first time since the moon landings, humanity felt united by a single question: what is 3I Atlas? And perhaps, more importantly, why is it here now? November arrived, and with it, silence. 3I Atlas slipped behind the sun, into that region astronomers call the strategic blind spot. For 2 weeks, no telescope on Earth could see it. The most watched object in the solar system had vanished into blinding light. It was a strange kind of waiting, an anxious calm stretching across the planet. Every observatory held its breath, every data feed ran idle, and humanity could only imagine what might be happening beyond that golden curtain. If you wanted to disappear, this was how you'd do it: hide in the sun itself. NASA called the hiatus routine, but off the record, insiders described an atmosphere of obsession. Some feared the object might fragment under solar heat. Others worried it might change, because the last time it was unseen, something about it had shifted. Then, on December 5th, it returned. When the first light reached the sensors, the readings defied logic. 3I Atlas emerged brighter, sharper, and somehow cleaner, as if polished during its absence. Its trajectory had altered by less than a degree, but enough to ruin months of predictions. More disturbing was the new data: subtle fluctuations in the solar wind, tiny ripples of magnetism synchronized with its motion. It wasn't just reflecting light anymore. It was interacting with the sun. Physicists proposed magnetic coupling, a resonance effect like two tuning forks vibrating in sympathy. But the frequency was too exact, the rhythm too structured. It followed Fibonacci intervals, mathematics woven into light. No random process could maintain such precision across millions of kilometers. That was when the first whispers of communication resurfaced. What if this was a form of dialogue, not made of sound or code, but geometry and pattern? A universal language that any intelligent observer, any species capable of math, would recognize. As the debate raged, a new set of images arrived from the Mars Reconnaissance Orbiter. It had captured 3I Atlas from a different angle, one humanity had never seen. The photos revealed something breathtaking: a faint lattice along its surface, hexagonal and symmetrical, like a honeycomb made of light. Not natural fissures, not dust patterns, architecture. The scale was staggering. Each panel measured hundreds of meters across, perfectly spaced, perfectly aligned. If this was natural, it was a miracle of cosmic coincidence. If it wasn't, it was engineering on a scale we can barely imagine. The story leaked, of course. A technician posted a blurred frame online before it could be deleted. Within hours, the honeycomb of God trended across every platform. NASA denied the image was authentic, but denial only fuels belief. And in living rooms and classrooms and midnight conversations, one thought took root: we are being observed. The theories multiplied. Some said it was a probe, an ancient archive of civilizations long gone, crossing galaxies to seed knowledge. Others argued it was alive in a way we don't yet understand, a form of consciousness embedded in structure, a mind without biology. For philosophers, it was a revelation. Perhaps intelligence is not the rare flower of evolution, but a property of the universe itself, a pattern that emerges wherever matter becomes self-aware. If so, then 3I Atlas might not be visiting us at all. It might be awakening us. Harvard's Loeb published a cautious paper, Anomalous Reflectance and the Hypothesis of Intentional Design. He didn't claim aliens, only that the data warranted non-natural interpretation. Within hours, his inbox overflowed with both praise and ridicule. But for many, the argument was already settled, not by evidence, but by wonder. Then came the radio silence. NASA cut live feeds from several observatories, citing bandwidth reallocation. Independent telescopes reported losing calibration simultaneously, and in that sudden blackout, speculation became faith. What if 3i Atlas had sent something? What if, behind the sun, it had released smaller objects, scouts invisible to radar? What if we weren't watching an arrival, but a deployment? No one could prove it. No one could disprove it. And in that gap between knowing and not knowing, the story took on a life of its own. Around the world, people began to gather under the night sky, not in fear, but in reverence. They looked upward, searching for a sign, a flicker, a pulse, a whisper from the dark. And some claimed they saw it, a brief shimmer, like a heartbeat in the stars. Perhaps imagination, perhaps more. Because when an entire species starts to watch the sky with hope instead of indifference, something in the universe changes. Observation itself becomes participation. And maybe that's the point. Maybe 3i Atlas didn't come to speak in words, but to remind us to listen. For weeks, the world hovered between silence and revelation. 3i Atlas drifted outward again, its glow fading but never vanishing, like a candle carried into deep water. Scientists expected it to dim completely. Instead, its light steadied into a soft, continuous pulse. Whatever it had done near the sun had changed it, and in some quiet way, had changed us. In laboratories and control rooms, sleep-deprived teams poured through terabytes of data. Every curve, every photon, every anomaly was dissected and modeled. The more equations they wrote, the less certain they became. Some numbers looked almost deliberate, ratios echoing the constants of hydrogen, carbon, and DNA itself. Was this coincidence or design? Could the universe be writing the same mathematics into life and into stone? Others noticed something subtler. Since the encounter, Earth's magnetosphere showed minute oscillations matching the rhythm of 3i Atlas's light. Too small to affect satellites, but statistically undeniable. A resonance across 100 million kilometers of space. It was as if the object and our planet had entered the same breath. Philosophers called it the mirror event, the moment observation and reality became entangled. Because when we looked up, the data looked back. Governments issued statements of calm reassurance, no evidence of extraterrestrial contact, normal solar behavior. But inside those statements was an admission they couldn't make publicly. There are events science can measure, but not yet explain. And perhaps explanation is not the end of the story, only another beginning. Meanwhile, the people did what humanity always does when faced with the unknown. They imagined. Artists painted light-woven cathedrals in orbit. Musicians turned the pulse data into symphonies. Children learned the name 3i Atlas before they learned the names of the planets. Wonder became contagious again. Somewhere beyond the orbit of Mars, the traveler continued its path, no longer accelerating, no longer pulsing irregularly, simply moving with quiet intention. It would pass Jupiter in early 2026, then vanish into the darkness from which it came. By then it would be too distant for our telescopes, a fading pixel swallowed by infinity. Yet its echo would remain in every equation, every late-night debate, every heartbeat that quickened when we realized the sky might be alive. So what was it? A natural relic sculpted by cosmic forces we don't yet grasp. A vessel built by hands or minds that mastered the geometry of starlight, or something even stranger, something that blurs the line between matter and thought. Perhaps the truth lies not in the object, but in our reaction to it, because the instant we turned our instruments toward that fragment of light, humanity behaved as a single organism, curious, alert, united by wonder. For a brief moment, borders, languages, and creeds dissolved into one question shared by every conscious being who looked up. Are we being watched, or are we being welcomed? Maybe that was the message all along. Maybe 3-Eye Atlas was never meant to deliver information, but transformation, to remind a restless species that discovery is not about certainty, but about humility. As it disappears into the black, one truth lingers. The universe is far less silent than we believed. Its language is light, its grammar is gravity, and its punctuation is mystery. We may not yet understand the sentence it's writing, but we are learning to read. And somewhere, in that endless dark ocean, another signal waits, another question disguised as a comet, another visitor whispering across the void. When it comes, will we be ready to listen? If this story made you wonder what else hides between the stars, subscribe to Sci-Mystery and join us as we explore the universe's deepest secrets. Because every mystery begins the same way, with a single look toward the night sky and the courage to keep looking back.